Such a short gospel, but so much going on. They went up to a high mountain. In Hebrew scripture, anything high, you knew that something was going to be happening, and it was going to be usually a theophany, an experience of God. So they went up on a high mountain apart by themselves, and he was transfigured. Whoa, what on earth does that mean? He was changed. How do we know? Because his clothes became dazzling white. Dazzling white. Not just white now, dazzling white. Can you see that on a commercial on television? Dazzling white. Such as no fuller on earth could bleach them. I'm not sure we have any modern day fullers, but that was probably a role that someone, a laundromat. Then Elijah appeared to them along with Moses. Elijah, interesting character. Moses, also interesting character. And they were conversing with Jesus. They were talking as if this was just, over a cup of coffee. And then Peter said to Jesus in reply, so there would be the three of them, and then all of a sudden, I call them the boys. The boys were talking with Jesus, and they were convinced. Then Peter said to Jesus in reply, Rabbi, it is good that we are here. You can imagine him kind of stuttering with that. Let us make 3 tents. What on earth are 3 tents? Well, it had to do with a festival of tents that they had in their Jewish tradition. 1 for you, 1 for Moses, and 1 for Elijah. He hardly knew what to say because he was so taken up in that particular moment. Then a cloud came. We know that this then is going to be another theophany. You never see God directly. There's always an intermediary somewhere in between. And from the cloud came a voice. This is my beloved Son. Talking about Yeshua, Jesus, the Master. And the command was so interesting. Listen to him. Listen to him, because he's going to have something to say to you that is important. Suddenly, looking around, all of a sudden, the cloud disappeared, and they no longer saw anyone but Jesus alone with Peter, James, and John. And they were coming down from the mountain, and he charged them not to relate what they had seen to anyone about this experience, this mystical thing, except when the Son of Man had risen from the dead. Whoa, what does that mean now? Remember, the boys were still relatively fresh in this relationship with the Master. And he was mystified. They were mystified with him. They couldn't put their thumb on him exactly. So they kept the matter to themselves. In theology, this is called the messianic secret. Whoa, we have a secret in Mark. The messianic secret is his divinity is not going to be relayed until after rising from the dead. Whatever on earth that meant, the messianic secret then will be revealed to them. So they kept the matter to themselves, questioning what rising from the dead meant. The gospel of the Lord. I'd like to thank Father Bierman for inviting Food for the Poor to come and to be with you this weekend. Your parish and Food for the Poor have a very long, outstanding relationship together. For those of you who are currently partners with us in ministry, I would like to thank you. Thank you for your participation with us, but also to thank you for your interest in wanting to serve the poorest of the poor. And I would like to give you a little update about what it is that we have been doing together, because we as Food for the Poor cannot do what we do without your help. And for those of you who are not currently partners with us in ministry, I would like to give you a little explanation of what it is that we do, but even more importantly, why we do what we do. And please consider that an invitation to join us in ministry. The theological motive, the impetus, if you like, that moves us forward as Food for the Poor, are the Master's comments in Matthew 25. What you do for the least of my brothers and sisters, you do for me. Food for the Poor is an international, interdenominational charity that was started in 1982 to attend to the needs of the poorest of the poor in Latin America and in the Caribbean. Now, in that area of the world alone, there are some 62 million people who live in extreme poverty. And of those 62 million, 54 million live in what American sociologists would call an undernourished condition. Now, before we move on any further, I'd like to take a moment and talk about what it is that we are trying to do. At the very root of our mission is a very personal situation called poverty. Poverty is about people. Poverty is about our brothers and sisters. Poverty is not always just a question of money. The issue and the concern of poverty is much more complicated than that. I have my own rather simple definition of poverty. Poverty is about lacking the basics of life. All people, all over our globe have needs. The human person is a multifaceted entity. You could even say that we are multi-needy. People are more than just a mouth to feed and a belly to fill. The first need that the human person has is wholesome, nutritious food. Food then becomes our number one priority. Now, after food has been satisfied, we need a place to live. We need a home, a place that is warm, that is comforting. Just like the birds of the air that need a nest to return to at night, or the animals of the field returning to their burrows, we as humans also need a place to spend the night. And we get and we maintain this high standard of living in this country through a raised standard of education. And as you know, health is always an issue and a great concern. Food for the Poor is an international, Christian, relief and development organization working primarily in 17 countries in Latin America, the Caribbean, Mexico, and we have now a very small presence in Africa. We work directly with the priests, with the brothers and the sisters, and those that have asked for our help. The reason that we work so close with them is that we have found through experience that the closer we work with them, we, as Food for the Poor, can guarantee that the goods and services that they have asked for go directly to those that need it and not get siphoned off in the process. So, since Food for the Poor was here last, Food for the Poor and you have been very busy together. So when we talk about food, with you as our partners, the only food that most have received is what you have been able to provide. For example, in our Haitian facilities, these numbers become mind-boggling to our American sensibilities, but they're true nonetheless. We serve some 15,000 meals each and every day, and we do that 6 days a week. We take the Sabbath off as the Lord has asked us to do. And last year, when we sat back and we counted up the amount of food that we had given away, it amounted to some 67 million pounds of food. When we speak of housing, your parish has assisted us in building homes for thousands of people. Throughout the area that we serve, the poor often live in dilapidated shacks that are made out of cardboard and pieces of tin and wood, offering a little bit of protection from the elements, but leaves the young and the elderly at risk. Since our start in 1982, we as Food for the Poor have been fortunate to be able to build over 90,000 homes for needy families. And last year, we had a bonus year. We had an exceptional year. We were able to build over 7,000 homes alone. And when we speak of health, we run health centers, clinics, orphanages, schools, and home for seniors. Speaking of health alone, last year we had shipped over 600 tractor-trailer load supplies of just medicine and medical supplies to our service area. That was in addition to the over 3,000 other containers that we had shipped. And when it comes to disaster relief, you know that Mother Nature can be very unforgiving. Food for the Poor stands ready to send immediate assistance to those in need. For example, after that January 2010 earthquake disaster in Haiti, we were on the ground before the event in January. The event happened mid-January, and we have been on the ground ever since. From January through October of just 2010, that particular period alone, we had sent some 1,400 tractor-trailer load supplies. The value of that, just for that period, was about $190 million. And we did not take one red cent for our administration for that, realizing how desperate the situation was. So last year in Haiti alone, we had built over 2,600 homes. And most of those, by the way, had sanitation. Now, to us as a North American, that doesn't seem like a big deal. We do a couple of things before we either build or rebuild. The first thing that we have to do, the very first thing, is ascertain ownership of the land. If the family does not own the land, then we can do nothing. But immediately after that has been proven, then we will do a survey of the aquifer. The aquifer is the water that is available below the surface. Last year, we were fortunate in finding a lot of water. So with that lot of water, we can tap into that then and add a bathroom to each and every home. If there's not a lot of water, and that happens in some areas, then we'll build one sanitation facility, tap into the water that is available, and then build the community around that. With your help, we were able to build 169 water wells. Now, I know what you're thinking. Father, it's a well. It's no big deal. What's a well? It's a hole in the ground. It's wet and soggy on the bottom. We do it here all the time. Yes, you do. We were able to build 169 of them. When the water disappeared there after the earthquake, there was no water available. Now we have, in addition to those 169 water wells, we have 45 solar-powered water purification systems in and around the capital of Port-au-Prince. Now, to get an idea of how large these solar-powered water purification systems are, they are substantial. Let's take the altar. Maybe let's do that again over here, and then take both of those and put that on top, and then add about another foot or two on the back. These are large units. They are solar-powered. They are capable of cleansing some 10,000 gallons of water each and every day. We, you and I, we have 45 of these in and around the capital of Port-au-Prince. The difficulty with these is that they're worth about $30,000 apiece. When he came some 2,000 years ago, they called him Rabbi. Rabbi meaning teacher. And he spent 3 magnificent public years walking among us, healing our sick, but even more importantly, teaching us how to live this particular life. So this evening, I would like to take the 3 years of teachings that he has and literally compress it. Compress it into 5 words, 2 thoughts, and 1 promise. And the promise is this, that when your time comes to lay in a pine box and Father is praying over you, and you're cold, you're damp, you're dead, that you will already be there and he will be saying to you, welcome home, good and faithful servant. You've done exactly as I asked you to do. You've heard this before. There's nothing radical. Jesus' first teaching was to say to love God. Well, you say, Father, that's why we came to this beautiful church on this blowy Saturday afternoon to give praise and thanksgiving to our God. When he came some 2,000 years ago, the rabbis had built up this terrible, awful mystique about who this God was. This God, read the Psalms. I am the Lord your God, I created you. And look at the disrespect you're giving me now. I'm going to punish you all. Master came along and said, who is this God that you're talking about? Because that's not the God that I know. The God that I know, his name is love. He is even greater than just love. He is, if you can wrap your simple human minds around it, he is unconditional love. Do you know what that means? It means that no matter what it is that you do, no matter what, you'll be forgiven. The Master, Jesus, Yeshua, in his brilliance, he knew that just giving us one command to love God was not enough. It needed some kind of proof. It needed some kind of evidence. Followed immediately in the same sentence, maybe separated by a comma or a breath, was love God, love your neighbor. That message is what got him hung on the cross, because they could not understand it at that time. I come before you this evening to ask for your help. Would you, those on the end, pass down the brochures to those in the middle? Open it up to where there's a young boy with a chow bowl, blue shirt. This, by the way, really is water. Just want you to know. We, by the way, do not take a second collection. We recognize the needs of Father Bierman and the parish, but we'll talk about that later. The young boy with the chowder bowl and the inscription that says for $43.80. Recently, I took 7 young people to McDonald's. Love that store. I shop there frequently. But let's analyze the transaction, because it's for comparison reasons. Each meal was about $7.50. The math is pretty straightforward. So let's just say for $50, I fed 7 children one time. Food for the poor for $43.80 can feed a hungry child for an entire year. Now, admittedly, it's not a Big Mac. It doesn't come neatly wrapped in a nice little cardboard box. There's no fries. There's no Playland. It's food. Something that each and every one of them probably hasn't had in a while. Let me share another little story with you. My last trip to Haiti, I was fortunate to be at one of our nutrition centers for this particular time slot happened to be for the children. So they would bring their little bowls. The equivalent mostly for us would have been a Blue Bunny ice cream bowl, about that size. And we would then ladle the food into that. Now, as you can tell, I'm rather short and stocky. My mother always said, "Gary, you've always had a robust appetite." So I'm watching the children as they're going through the line. I guess led by the Holy Spirit, my eyes fall upon this one particular boy because he was I was wondering, maybe that was me way back when. So he gets the food, and he just takes a little bit of it, and I'm thinking to myself, nah, that's not me. I would have scarfing that food down, and the bowl would have been empty before I was exiting the building. So I was curious. So I called the manageress over. She was a delightful woman, educated in dietitian, certified dietitian here in this country, working in Haiti. I said, "What's going on with this boy? He's got this food. He's not eating very much of it, if any of it. Is there something wrong with the food?" And she said, No, Father. There's nothing wrong with the food. Everybody else was scarfing it down. She said, "I know a little bit about that boy and a little bit about the family. He comes from a very large family, somewhere between 8 and 10 children." I went, whoa. So the boy that you've been watching will be taking that food bowl, small as it is, back to his family. And she wasn't being mean, she was just being very factual. She said, "Father, they have done something that you in America would find very difficult to do." So now she's piqued my curiosity. I said, "What's that?" She said, "That family has divided themselves into 2 groups. So the boy that you're watching with that food is taking the food back and will feed the first 5 of the family." I said, "Well, that's very laudable of him, but what about this other 5? She said, "No, they get nothing. They get nothing until more food comes into the house, either the next day or the day after. And guess what? What do they do then? They trade places." I went, whoa, that would be really, really hard for us in this country. She says, "Let me tell you another story. Some others, just some, not all, but some, they'll bake cookies, maybe about 5 inches in diameter, 3/4 of an inch thick." Now remember, she was educated here, talking to a North American. She said, Well, I asked her, well, no, she said the Haitians don't have flour and sugar and peanuts and chocolate chips and maple chips and coconut and all those things that we would consider necessary. As a hobby, I'm a baker, so I'm curious, what did they do? Did they find some kind of plant, dry it out, ground it down, and use that? She says, no. She said, these mothers will take dirt and bake these cookies and give it to their children. I said, dirt? Why on earth would they give their child dirt? Her answer, very honest and very pathetic at the same time. So the mothers are so desperate to give their children something to fool the brain that the belly is getting something, that they use dirt. I came close to a tear that day. I draw your attention to the before and the after picture with the woman and the child and $3,600. I hate to say this, but that before picture is one of the better looking shacks that are in Port-au-Prince and in the surrounding areas. I guess they picked it because it was photogenic. The after picture. Can you see the smile on that mother's face? I can practically read her mind now as to what she's thinking. Now I don't have to live like I did before, living in one of those shacks, sleeping on the ground with vermin. Now I can live my life the way God intended. And as every good mother would be thinking, now my child will have a chance at a better life. A life to live the way God intended, healthy, happy, and free. I come before you this evening to ask for your help, to ask for one of three different things. The first thing is I would like to ask for a gift of a home, a gift of $3,600. Now I know what you're thinking, Father, that's a great deal of money. I'm not going to disagree with you. But here's the thing, you, the people of God, have been extremely generous with food for the poor. It humbles me no end when I'm standing in the narthex after Mass. Someone comes up and gives me a check. Father, here, please name the house after my mother and my father. God bless you. It happens frequently. The second thing that I would like to ask for, if you turn where the boy with the blue shirt, the next panel over has our Angels of Hope program. Just a brief little explanation. Haiti is still not out of the woods yet. Haiti is on an island. Let's say this side of the island is Haiti, and this side is the Dominican Republic. The Dominican Republic, a number of years ago, they have a right to do this. They do have a right, not a moral right, but they have a right legally. They have said that if you are a Haitian living in the Dominican Republic, and 100 years ago they encouraged Haitians to go through the border, they have hundreds of thousands of Haitians living in the Dominican Republic. The Dominican Republic has said that if you're a Haitian living in the Dominican Republic, we don't want you here anymore. We're kicking you out. Here's how bad it is. Even if you're a citizen of the Dominican Republic with Haitian blood, you need to get out. If that were to happen in this country, there would be armed revolution. The crisis then is happening on the Haitian side of the border. Refugee camps, the same as what you see in Europe. Men, women, and children. And we as Food for the Poor have identified a fourth group, that's orphans. My definition of an orphan, very simple. No mother, no father, no visible means of support. If we don't support them, then they're going to die eventually prematurely. They will end up on the streets of Port-au-Prince. They will get involved in drugs. They will get involved with violence. They will get involved with guns. And you know where that's going to end up. For a gift of $34 a month, you can sponsor a Haitian orphan. We have a list currently of 900 names of children looking for a sponsor like yourself. So I've asked for a home for $3,600. I've asked for a sponsorship for a Haitian orphan. By the way, if you like that, when you fill out the form, please mark on there and put a box around it saying for a Haitian orphan. Because if you don't, that money that you donate will then go into what I call the big pool. And that's how we feed all of these different people. The third thing that I would like to ask for is this. $10 a month per family. You say, now, Father, that's not a great deal of money. I'm not going to disagree with you. But that's how we feed all of these people. My particular passion happens to be education. When you look at and talk to people that are living in these shacks, the one universal, it's not just Haiti, the one universal phenomena is lack of education. If we can train them from when they're young and give them a trade, even if it's just a sewing machine, they can then support themselves and their families for a lifetime. I come to ask for your help this evening. I'll be in the narthex after Mass. If you can help us today, that would be wonderful. If not, please take the brochure home with you. Talk it over with your family. Talk it over with your spouse. If a home is in our future together, God bless you. Thank you for that. If not, please consider sponsoring a Haitian orphan. Or that. If that's too much, then just go with that. It's because of you that we have been able to live out Jesus' comments in Matthew 25. What you do for the least of my brothers and sisters, you do for me. God bless you. Thank you in advance. Please stand as we profess our faith. We believe in one God, the Father,